Hello, good afternoon. I'm Kate Bulkley. I'm an independent journalist based in the UK. I write about media, telecoms, technology, convergence, and I'm here to run what we're calling the interview series. Basically, this is 4 interviews in a row. And Google is so big that we're going to actually see them twice, once through Google TV and once through YouTube. But I think it's going to be interesting. I'll try to have a couple of questions at the end for you guys. The other thing you can do, we have this Twitter feed up on a screen in front of me. And so if you want to tweet me a comment or a question, I think it's hashtag MIPTV, right? Is that what it is? Hashtag MIPTV, and it'll come up on this screen. If you can somehow, say, Kate, exclamation point, here's my question, or here's my comment, just so because I'm getting every tweet that's on MIPTV, if you see what I mean. It's not just this room. So as a way to, grab my attention. So if you want to do it that way, I can try to watch the Twitter screen as well. Okay, so we're going to talk to some of the big players who are embracing video, how they're using video, how TV can use them, if you see what I mean, use their services, because we're talking to Facebook as well, how personalization and socialization is starting to impact on all this. So we're going to get started. The first interview, I'm going to go over here. The first interview is with Christian Witt. I'm going to sit down. Christian, if you could come up. Christian is a strategic partner development manager at Google TV in Germany, and Christian has a long background at RTL, regular TV. I guess you have regular TV, traditional TV.
Exactly, yeah. And
now you're at Google TV, which is an interesting thing. I mean, I think that a lot of us, started hearing about Google TV. I guess it was last year when they launched in the States, and then there was a lot of sort of bad press about did it work, did it not work, was it a set-top box, how was it going to actually work going forward. So bring us up to speed, Christian. What is Google TV? It's launched in the US. Give us kind of the big picture.
Yeah, I'd love to. So Google TV in principle is an operating system for TV devices, having 3 cornerstones to it. One being the operating system itself being based on Android,
which you own.
So we've looked at the success, obviously, of Android in the mobile space, and we've taken Android to optimize that actually to be put on big TV screens to work optimized and optimal on a big TV set. Yeah. The second component is a full Chrome browser, which we have optimized for the television usage. Okay. And the third component is Google Play, formerly Android Market, so the App Store, which is known from the mobile space, which we're now putting onto TV devices.
So you'll be able to monetize through that, either through microtransactions or...
Right, so basically the platform itself, we're just building the operating system, just in parallel if you compare that to Android, but we're offering for developers and content partners various monetization options. So we think that we have a pretty good and easy solution for developers and content providers to actually get on the big screen by either using Google Play, which is building an Android application, or if you already have an Android application, optimize that for the big screen. Okay.
And will it cost them a lot of money to optimize it to work on Google TV for the big screen?
Well, I mean, if you already have done a lot of work on Android, on your phone and tablet application, we see experience now from the US that you already have done about 70 to 80% of the work. So in principle, what you have to do is, since a TV set doesn't have a touch interface, for example, you would have to optimize your navigation to what we call a D-pad, the normal classical stuff you have on your remote control, right, left, up, and down. So that's kind of some adaptation work you have to do. But that is one way actually for content providers or developers actually to get on the big screen. And it's an open platform, so you wouldn't have to ask Google or even our partners who are using Google TV as their operating system to actually onboard the big screen.
So unlike Apple, where you have to go through the Apple verification process.
Yeah, it's the normal. I mean, it's the normal Android store where you just upload your application, and then you can, as a developer or content provider, can then decide where you want to publish your application. So that can be obviously on a smartphone, TV, and now with Google TV on a big screen. The second avenue, which we think is going to be interesting to a lot of content providers and developers, actually using the route via the browser to access the big screen, right? So actually, we already now have all web content being accessible on the big TV screen. But what a lot of companies are doing is they're optimizing their websites actually for the big television interface. So the way you have to think about this is as you have optimized websites for your smartphone, so once you enter a website from a small device, it shows you a specific tailored website for your smartphone. And the same can obviously happen also for the big screen. Okay. So these are two ways where we think this is actually a pretty compelling solution for everyone who is trying to put their content and their apps onto the screen.
So one of the criticisms of Google TV has been that it's basically just trying to move the internet onto the big screen, onto the television. And people were like, well, you know, the internet doesn't really work that well on the television. So is it going to be apps on the television, or is it really just, you know, the full internet experience, but suddenly it's on your home television screen as opposed to your PC or your tablet?
Well, we're trying to actually, and I don't think it's a criticism, I think it's a strong value of Google TV bringing all content which is available on the web, on the internet, to the TV screen. Right, so we're trying to embrace the whole internet and make accessing and discovering content which is being provided by the internet very, very easy and compelling. Okay. So, yeah, go ahead.
And it's separate from, I think it's important to get, it's separate from YouTube, because YouTube is a video, YouTube is like one of the apps that would be on a Google TV.
Exactly. So we're just providing the operating system, if you will, the platform for every content provider to bring their content, or as a developer, their applications onto a TV device.
So if I'm a content provider, do I want to come to you to put my content on Google TV, or do I want to go to YouTube and put it on YouTube, and then YouTube will get it on Google TV?
Well, really depending on what you're trying to look for, right? So obviously YouTube is a big distribution platform for content, being on all different smart TV platforms, not only on Google TV as a separate app, but also on other connected TV devices, smartphones, everywhere else, basically. But if you have already your strong web presence or an existing app strategy, either on iOS or on Android, then it's obviously for some people no-brainer to actually put that, have a separate presence on a big screen as well.
Okay. Now, how fast are we going to actually see Google TV? As I understand it, you launched this on LG's. I think you demoed that at the CES in January. On LG
so here's the status. Right now, you see Google TV operated devices in the US only, so we're heavily focusing on the US right now. Beginning of the year, we have announced or restated 4 major partnerships, which is Sony, LG, Samsung, and Vizio in the US. In addition to that, we've added 2 chipset manufacturers, because the bulk of the work which needs to be done is actually port that operating system on a chipset itself. So all of these manufacturers are now looking into getting Google TV into their devices, and they're heavily focusing on the US right now.
So you've got LG, you've got Sony, who I think have done something with the Blu-ray player already, but they're now going to put it on the TV.
Yeah, so Sony's been one of our launch partners in 2010. They actually have 2 devices out in the market. One is a Blu-ray player, so an add-on device to your existing TV setup. The other is an actual a TV set. So Sony actually announced at CES in Vegas 2 new devices, one being a media box, and the other being a Blu-ray player, which you can just hook up to your existing TV set.
And you're on Samsung, yes?
No, we're talking to
Samsung and Vizio, which I think is another big manufacturer in the US as well. Okay. Exactly. So European launch, don't know yet?
As this is not a Google product.
I suppose, because it's a CE company.
Exactly. So we can't speak on behalf of our partners.
Do you know when they might be thinking about bringing it out?
Well, Sony announced beginning of this year that they're obviously eyeing to put their devices also to European markets sometime this year.
This year?
Yeah.
Okay. So what was I going to ask you? The thing that I wanted to say was, well, let's see if there's any tweets. Does anybody have a question from the audience? Let's see. Google TV is trying to bring internet to the TVs. I don't think it's a criticism, I think it's a strong value. That's good. They like that. Is there a question on here? No, it doesn't look like it. Okay. Does anyone have a question for Christian from the audience? We'll do the old-fashioned way. We bring up the the lights so I can see. Does anybody want to ask about Google TV? Yep, anything I didn't, do you have, are you, no, that's just your, that's your walking stick, isn't it? Yes, here's one. Do we have a mic down here in the front? Hello?
Hi,
yes, good.
Hi, Burkhard Pinello from Berlin. I'm serial entrepreneur. Are you planning any interfaces on Google TV where you can simplify shopping or buy deals or stuff like that?
Where you can synthesize shopping?
No, like for e-commerce interface, basically.
An e-commerce interface, okay.
Yeah. Or where you buy deals, like Groupon type deals.
Well, basically, it's the platform is Android. So if you have business models running on an Android application, you can just put this one-to-one to a big television screen. So for us, the TV is just a different kind of screen interface where you can use all your business models you want to put into your market. So if there are different options to monetize your content, including e-commerce, then we can or you can actually always put that on a big screen as well.
I mean, basically, it's an open platform. So if there's an e-commerce app, it'll just go on.
Exactly.
Right? That's the point.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Is there another question from the audience about Google TV? Yes, there's one here. Can we get her the mic?
Hi, I'm Catalina from the Canada Media Fund. Is there any plan to commission content or programs or even apps?
Not at all. We are
no, just open platform up to the producers.
Exactly.
To
so
upload.
I think the best way to think about this, just having a look at what happened in the mobile space with Android. So we're providing an open access platform, and we think we're going to do this in an easy way because developers and content providers can actually tap into either Android or HTML5 to bring optimized web applications to the TV screen. And these can then actually be accessible on numerous screens also, right? So if you have an Android application, you put that on a smartphone, on a tablet, and on a TV screen at the same time, and without asking Google or any of our partners if you want. Exactly. So you just upload your stuff and you're there. Yes.
So the money that YouTube is putting into content, that's different. That's a whole different part of the company.
Yeah, exactly. Probably Jet is going to be here later.
Okay. So the 100 channels and all that, that's YouTube, not you.
Exactly.
Got it. Now another criticism, or maybe it was an opportunity, of Google TV was that you use a keyboard, to work with your television. You actually need to type because you're using the Chrome browser, right?
Yes.
So I can stick in anything I want. I can type
exactly.
in. Now, have you going to change that on the new version of Google TV, or?
No, one of our big goals is what we call to have a seamless integration with the TV set itself. So we want to make it as easy as possible for users to actually switch between live TV and an app or a website. And we want them obviously to actually use stuff like search. And so there are numerous ways of actually getting.
Hopefully Google search, yeah. Not Yahoo search.
It could be everything, right? So we have the internet. So if you go to Bing, you could obviously
you can go to Bing, yes.
So there are different ways of actually doing the interaction. Obviously, the obvious thing is having a keyboard to be able to type in stuff. We've seen remote controls where if you have a microphone, you can speak to search. Basically, you just speak your query and it shows up, and you directly get where
Christian, do you think? I mean, now that we're talking about the second screen stuff. Do you think that maybe, there's a view in the industry that we should be putting the hard stuff, the detailed stuff, the text stuff, the social stuff on the tablet, and the big screen should just be the live television program?
Absolutely.
Which is different from what you're talking about. You're talking about putting it all on the big screen, right?
Yes, this is obviously the first step, right? Having a common software platform across all different devices, and then you can do already today a bunch of stuff. So, just to give you an example, we have an app which is where you can play cards, where actually on your small screens you have your cards, and the playing table is the big television screen. So there's already a lot of interaction ongoing with the different devices, second screens. So I think we're going to see a lot more in that sphere going forward.
Okay, so the Google TV app will be on the television.
Yes.
But you'd also have it on your companion device.
Yeah, depending on the developer or the content provider, what he perceives to be the best way and to actually interact with the user itself.
Right. Okay. And like a Netflix or something doesn't need to talk to you really because they probably have an Android app, and so you just go to it on the Google TV?
Exactly. I mean, that's an example of what we call an authenticated app. So it's one of the content providers, just like YouTube, right? So you can plug in your subscription, and then off you go. You can take all your content from your Netflix.
So is the goal here basically to obviously get the Google browser used more and to get, I mean, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to get more targeted advertising happening, or what's the?
Well, right now we really want to unlock all the content which is on the web to the big television screen. So we see there's basically everything is out there on the open web. And we want to make it for users easy to actually not only consume that on a PC, but actually have that on that big screen in their living room.
And then once it's there, then what?
Yeah, once it's there, obviously one of our big tasks is helping them find what they're looking for, right, and make content discoverable. So we have in the US a search functionality where you can browse across contents on the web, and an application which is kind of an EPG discovery application where you can find content.
Another question? Yes, here's one here. We have a mic to this lady, yes.
Hi, Ashley McCabe from RTE. I just have a question about the versions of Android that the different device manufacturers will deploy. Will they all be the same or different? Because one of the challenges at the moment with the handsets, say, is the different versions across the different handsets, or will we have to develop different apps for different devices?
Yeah, right now, I mean, what we do is we give Google TV for free to our partners, but we actually license them to get the code, and we actually want to ensure that Google TV is upgradable on all devices. So we're trying to accommodate that issue.
Okay, here's one we've got from Stuart Dredge. Can you ask him what makes a good TV app versus an Android app in terms of user interface and design? Is that at all clear yet?
Yeah, just to give you a quick rundown on how we actually did that. So actually we took Android market Google Play, which is called today, which has 450,000 apps. So this is the identical Android market Google Play on a TV set. So we are filtering out all those apps which have or based on functionalities which actually do not work on a TV screen. So imagine you have an application running with a touchpad. This obviously doesn't work on a TV set. When it comes to optimizing your app, there are I think two things you need to consider. One is you have a different kind of interaction, right? So it's the touchpad doesn't work, so you need to look at a D-pad up, down, right, and left functionality. Another very simple thing is thinking about.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. What do you have to? Yeah, so you have to have.
Well, yeah. So another easy example would be how would you show content on a television screen? So looking at the font size, for example, or potentially you want to put more pictures into that. You want to start your application with actually having something moving on the screen, because people
otherwise it just looks like a web page.
Yeah, exactly. And people, I mean, in the living room, they're expected to, once they open their app, to have something happening and be on the consuming side.
When you have that, I mean, can't you work that out? I mean, can't you make it so the search on Google TV will surface stuff that's going to look better on TV than it will on the PC? I mean, I assume that you've got smart enough software that could do that.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest challenges over time is being discovered also on a big screen. So if you have,
I mean, you don't want to discover the boring stuff first if you're on the big screen. You want to discover the stuff that has video and moving pictures, right?
Right. So the question actually over time is the same as ever. How do I get discovered with my application? And obviously, Google Play, the Google Play Store, is a very good way on surfacing great content, or great applications, which are searchable across that store. Right.
Okay. Another question for Christian? Anyone? Here's one. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Juliet Gamarra. I'm from Argentina. It all sounds great that we have the different platforms, the different devices, and they can all interact. Excuse me. Now, would you provide a sample of the business model? Because I can't understand how money works in all this interaction.
For whom?
For all the parts, because of course, if you're like as a content provider, so you just put your stuff in there in the hope of somebody is going to recognize the value in your content, and instead of becoming free video on demand, it will become VOD. Now, in that context, how would a business model, not just about where do you make money from, but what would be an example of the business model that it would be followed for you to achieve something like that?
Right, so let me give you an example on tied to Google Play, the Google Play Store. So you as a developer, as a content provider, you can tap into various monetization opportunities within your with your Android application. So one example is you put out, you sell your application, right? So you put a price tag to your application if you download that. So that's one source of revenue. One could be in-app payments. So that's actually a pretty popular model. So you put out applications, and if users want to unlock additional features or other functionalities, then they have to pay for that. You can obviously do your advertising, where you're completely free to monetize this. So we're going to give, or we're going to provide all the creativity you want to put to work when it comes to your business model, so that you're in a position to actually do that. Was that clear enough, or?
Not well-ish. It's potentially yes, but there's a point. If you, as a content vendor, and completely understanding that this is the future probably, because it's an audience. It's all about I want to see whatever I want to see, when I want to see it, where
yes.
I want to see it. So, trying to approach content from that perspective. It's really tricky. It's all from our end because many of the applications are for free.
Yeah.
So there's like a gap there. That for me, it's like a lost hole in there. But it may be my lack of understanding of that model.
Yeah, I think the model really comes down to obviously the content and the application you're putting out to the market. So if you have, to use that example, Angry Birds, which is, it's just they just build a great application, and this is one of the most popular apps, and this obviously works for them. So I think it really boils down to having some really good offering, as in every other media, basically, to build some good stuff which people want to have and use.
Christian, what do you think the installed base of Google TV will be in a year or in 18 months?
Well, we think we've done a lot of obviously experience in the mobile space with Android. We think that an open operating system, open platform has clear advantages, and we think we're going to see the same trajectory also for TV devices. However,
that'll be fast then.
Yeah, I was just about to say. I mean, if you look at smartphones, they have a pretty fast replication cycle.
TV is not so fast.
If you look at the TV space, you can do your math. But we think that overall,
I mean, I think phones was a 2-year cycle for replacement average.
Yes.
Television is more like 5 to 7 years.
5 to 7 years right now.
So what you're saying is, it's going to take you 5 to 7 years to sort of be in the same kind of sphere as the mobile Android take-up.
Yes, but there are obviously different factors coming into that. So obviously, as we have 450,000 apps potentially being already there to be optimized for the big screen,
that's attractive.
There's a big actual potential to bring that phase much faster. Also, if you look at consumers are used to having now applications on their devices. So if you think about Google TV empowered device as a big smartphone, right? You buy that, you get
a very big smartphone.
Exactly. I mean but you get that along with a couple of applications pre-installed, and we think people are going to use the same kind of habit, which is learned. So this is kind of a factor which is also accelerating probably that development. So there are a couple of variables obviously driving that process.
Well, we look forward to seeing how it all works, and I'm sure we'll be watching intently to see how Google TV works.
Thanks.
Could you please join me in thanking Christian Witt?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks
So much.
Thanks.
Okay, round 2. Isn't this fun? Carla Getzi. Come on up, Carla, and get yourself situated. I might give you a bottle of water. How's that? Get a bottle of water. Carla is the Strategic Partner Development Manager for Google TV. Yep. Sorry. Carla is Strategic Platform Partnerships, because strategic got me. Strategic Platform Partnerships for Facebook. I'm awake. The reason I was thinking is, if you want to get on this screen in front of me, which is the Twitter feed, it's #MIPTV. And if you really want to catch my attention, put my name on my hashtag. It's hashtag Kate Comments. Okay, Kate Comments. That gets my attention because then I can see it. It'll filter out a little bit easier. Okay, so if you want to ask a question via Twitter, that's how you do it. Okay, Carla, Facebook. Facebook is cool. Facebook is doing a lot of stuff with television. I know, because you're always talking about television. You come to these audiences, and it's great. let's talk about what you're doing. Do you want to start the video? I can't remember. That's about timeline, or
That's right. That was timeline for pages.
And that's new.
That's new. That's pretty new. Back in September last year, we introduced timeline for profiles, for user profiles, so for you and I in the room. And then recently, we introduced timeline for pages. And this past Friday, timeline for pages rolled out quite widely now to all pages. So it's pretty exciting. I think it's one of the most exciting kind of product launches, certainly that I've been a part of at Facebook. From the moment that we introduced timeline for people, brands immediately said, "What about us? You know, we have a history, we have a timeline, we go back, especially in Europe, maybe less so in the U.S. You know, when are we going to get these?" So it's they're here. They're pretty exciting.
And how does that interface with this audience? In other words, with content and stuff. Is this going to make it easier for people to put, I don't know, video content on their pages or socialized video?
I think this is introducing a completely new way of storytelling, you know, via your presence on Facebook. So I don't know if you've seen or heard about the fact that Dallas is coming back. Who's happy about that? So, I mean, come on, great program. So Dallas, if you go to facebook.com/Dallas TNT, so TNT is bringing Dallas back as a remake. And they've built an amazing timeline for the show, and they've brought back photography and videos from. You can go back to 1980 and just see what JR was up to then. And I think they've created so
before
much
he was
buzz.
Shot.
Yeah,
right.
And they have, I think, 650,000 likes on that page. So a whole new generation now is being reintroduced to Dallas,
Right.
And it's through their timeline on Facebook.
Got it. So they created a timeline. You have your timeline. Brands can have a timeline. Television show can have a timeline. All right. How do we move beyond the like button? I mean, it's interesting about Facebook. I know that the TV industry really embraced it and sort of, oh, great, let's get a bunch of likes, and it's great, we're getting liked by Facebook, millions of likes. Okay, that's great. But,
Yeah, what's
fine.
next? Yeah, moving beyond the like. Or there's a lot of discussion always about the value of a like or a liker. And I think finally
Does it have a value? It's hard to put a value on it.
I think what I always say is maybe not all likes were created equal. A like on maybe Dove's page is a little bit different to a like on Dallas. But, for just thinking about FMCG brands for a second, the fact that they are able to get, more eyeballs and visitors to a page that they run on Facebook versus their own website is pretty valuable for them. I think in our business, in the content space, it's great that Dallas has 650,000 likes, but what does that really mean in terms of, their ability to get a recommission, for instance? If those things are helping drive viewership and engagement and recommissions, then that's valuable. And I think they're able to tell a much more interesting story now with Timeline that hopefully allows them to do that.
Let's talk about some other big content on Facebook, because I mean the other one's been the games like the Farmvilles and the Angry Birds, and they're huge based on Facebook. Now they're going off Facebook. So let's talk about that. Is Facebook an opportunity, but also at a certain point does your fortune get too hostage to Facebook? What's that?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, because there is a lot of debate and always a lot of questions about should we build apps in this sense on Facebook.com, or should we enable experiences off? And I think there are actually plenty of examples that we can look at in both worlds that should answer the question for us, which is it's not necessarily about the location, about where you're at. It's whether or not you're able to get the distribution and discovery that Facebook affords through the newsfeed, through the ticker, through my profile, etc. And how are you bringing people back to an experience where that's going to be enjoyable for them? So if watching a full-length feature film is more exciting to do, for example, on Facebook versus on Hulu's website, I think to us that's not even the question. The question is your Facebook identity allowing you to do that in a more interesting way, i.e. is social a part of that experience? Are you watching with friends? Are you discovering content through friends? And is that a result of being able to, quite simply, log in with your Facebook credentials wherever you are? And I use Spotify as the example, right? Because Spotify is one of the probably most, let's say, well-known and very successful apps that aren't on Facebook, right? There's no Spotify app really on Facebook. There's just the Spotify client that you use, but it's powered kind of by your Facebook identity. That's how you enter into the experience. And that, for a lot of people, not for everybody, but for a lot of people, that's the way they discover new music, through me, through their friends.
That's the way Netflix works as well,
and that's
right?
the way Netflix works as well. I mean, they're concentrated on building a really awesome experience on the web, and it's not a requirement, it's not a necessity for them to replicate that per se on Facebook. They're still getting the real value that Facebook can deliver, which is the distribution, the traffic, the eyeballs, and the discovery.
Mm-hmm. And the socialization too. I mean, I think that's the big one. Talk a little bit about sort of the apps. Everybody talks about apps. You got to have an app. You don't have an app, you're just not cool. So what is all that about? Do you have to have an app and you have to put it on Facebook, or do you have to have an app and have it off Facebook, or do you not have to have an app?
It is all about apps now. Right now we have apps on tellies, we have apps on our phones, we have apps on the web, but I think the app is a pretty great solution for everybody in the ecosystem. What I mean by that is there's always the debate of who owns the user. You know, who owns the viewer? Does Facebook own the viewer? Does the broadcaster? Does the production company? And an app is a kind of a great way to think about, I suppose, nobody necessarily owning the user, but the ability for the broadcaster, the content owner, to, let's say, own the experience, right? Own the hosting, be able to, create that experience that they intended for me. But at the same token, kind of being on a platform like Facebook where people are spending 6-7 hours on average a month and getting that, that kind of access in that way. So an app is a way to build on top of a platform and a set of APIs, but yet still being able to wholly control the creative experience that you want me to have, I suppose, wherever that happens. And I think it feels a little bit complicated right now because we're talking about multiple platforms and we're building for iOS, we're building for Android, we're building for the mobile web. And yeah, that's a bit of a pain point, I think, for all of us. But I guess what's exciting about that is for years we talked about, well, let's go where the audience is. And now we have a vehicle to get there through apps.
So if I'm on Christian's Google TV, how do I get to Facebook? Do you have to make a Facebook app on Google TV, or do you just go through the Chrome browser, hopefully the Chrome browser, and find Facebook? Or how's that all gonna?
Facebook on tellies is funny. I think the reason that we like Facebook, the reason we spend so much time there is because my experience is different from yours, is different from every single person's in this room, right? Because it's a true personalized web experience. No two news feeds are alike, no two profiles are alike. And that's challenging to do on a shared device, such as a television. So I don't know that that's 100% cracked yet in terms of how best should social be experienced in the living room, right? But what I am excited about is second screen experiences like Zbox saying, we'll help you sort that out, right? As more people have tablets on their lap while they're watching television, that's how you can get that personalized experience in a room where we want to watch something on a nice big screen. Mm. But I think it's really going to come through those second screen experiences, as they're called, via your iPhone or via your Android phone or via your tablet device. Mm-hmm.
So Zbox, for people who don't know, is a second screen app in the UK. Sort of like Mizo. What's another one in the States? There's a couple of them. But anyway, there's a bunch of Get Glue. That's another big one. So it's that kind of thing. But it's on a second tablet and big TV, second screen.
Yeah, I mean Zbox, starts out as a basic kind of EPG, allowing you to find content. If you're on a connected television, then you can actually do channel changing through the device. But what we love about it, what's really cool about it, is that you're straight away, your friends are there with you. So you're watching in unison with them, you're chatting with them, and you're discovering new shows to watch in real time through them, because it's all coming up through the Facebook ticker and newsfeed, etc.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about monetization. Obviously, you've had some experiments like, I was thinking it was Warner Brothers who put Dark Knight on Facebook, and you could actually buy it, a microtransaction through a Facebook credit, and watch the film. Yeah. I think there's been other studios that have done it since. Do you see more of that happening? How is that working out?
Yeah, in the last, let's say since the last MIPTV, I think pretty much every major studio has launched some kind of app experience on Facebook. For the most part, it's been video on demand streaming through purchasing with Facebook credits. You know, other folks are trying to monetize in different ways. We have some broadcasters across Europe that are looking at how to leverage kind of microtransactions, virtual goods, allowing you to vote, for example, in talent programs with Facebook credits. So I think we're kind of finally getting to a stage where there's at least enough to kind of experiment with, and what the perfect model is not 100% clear, you know, whether that's one-off transactions or microtransactions. But I think what's great is that the industry is really, we're trying to figure it out collectively, I think. And I think if the game space could completely reinvent themselves that way on Facebook, you know, why can't film and television? But there's, you know, it's still, I think it's still early days there in terms of what's been a knockout kind of success.
Mm-hmm. So some microtransactions, yes. Voting, because you can monetize voting. Obviously, I think Channel 5 did a voting app in the UK. Have other channels done that, voting on Facebook?
Yeah, no, I think there's been, let's say, about 12 voting apps across Europe.
And they've done well?
In Germany. Yeah, I mean, I think the real standout one was Channel 5. I mean, they had about 50% of all voting activity happen through Facebook.
For what show, do you remember?
For Big Brother.
For Big Brother.
Yeah, for Big Brother in the UK.
That makes sense. Okay.
And, you know, that was pretty cool for them, because not only did they see that they were able to kind of light up their Facebook page in that way and actually see transactions coming through, right? I mean, they received 70% of every Facebook credit that's spent, but they actually saw voting as a whole increase. And that was the first time they saw voting both on the telephone, right? Both through the phone and through the web actually go up. In recent years, they actually were seeing voting decline. So that was a really positive sign for them, and I think they were able to kind of re-energize a pattern and change a pattern of voting, which was only driven in the broadcast window, right? It's such a precious period of time that you have to push, you know, folks to go do something. What they saw on Facebook is that they saw voting activity happen throughout the voting window. In their case, it was a Tuesday to a Friday, and they saw votes happening throughout that time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, well, they liked that because it drove more money. Will you commission content? Will you purchase content? Will you create original content?
No, I think, you know, we have a whole conference here of people that do that a whole lot better than us. I think that's, you know, that's definitely not the intention. I think, you know, the best thing that we could do, I think, for the industry is continue to make sharing incredibly powerful and incredibly useful. You know, you want your content creators, and you want your content to be discovered, and that's the value that I think Facebook can deliver, is helping you do that in a really, really cool way, but not the content creation part on our side. Okay.
And do you license content? I mean, do you actually say, you know, are you, no?
No. I mean, you know, as similar to kind of, you know, our talk before, it's an open platform that allows any media owner to bring their own media player, right? That's full flexibility. Bring your own third-party player, whether you use something like a Breakcove or, of course, YouTube's on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And then we just find that that's the best way to scale out, you know, a really good proposition for the industry.
Cool. Questions from the audience for Carla? You have to bring the lights up so I can see you. Anybody have a question? Facebook, television? Oh, come on. There must be someone. There's one. Do you see one? Yes, there. This man up there. Get him a mic. So I'll read this while you're getting ready. Tell us who you are.
Yes. Hi. My name is Abed Jabak from Media Link Lebanon. And my question is a bit around the monetization opportunities you just mentioned that you give perhaps content publishers or producers. How about when somebody does an event and they promote it on Facebook, if they have 5 mentions that are the same thing, he gets blocked when he's trying to promote something. And if I make, let's say, some content available via Facebook credits, I'm trying to promote it, it's very restrictive to be able to promote it without being blocked. How would I go about that then?
So I think, you know, if the question's about how, you know, how to prevent your app from kind of being
spammed,
spam. You know, truthfully, those things are generally triggered by users clicking the hide button in their newsfeed. So when Facebook sees a signal that too many individuals, too many of us are actually clicking the X button, that's generally what blocks the app, versus Facebook making a call if 5 is too many, or 10 is too many, or 2 is too many posts.
So it's the X button.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, if you think about, we all have the ability in our newsfeed to say, hide, I don't want to see these posts, and then we can report why we don't want to see them. And if we feel that they're spammy and we mark them as spam, then the app it's reflected, actually in the app. So I know it can be frustrating, but that's kind of the learning experience of understanding how how your viewers actually want to hear from you and how often. But it's really trying to pay attention to your page and your app insights to help understand kind of what's happening in that space. But that's how that's triggered.
Interesting. Sounds like you have to reconfigure your content a little bit. Quite another question? Anybody? No? He's running up there. Does that mean there's a question up there? Yes, good. Hello.
Hi, my name is Maya Lavo, and I'm from Parallax Films in Canada.
Hi.
We used Facebook to promote a documentary series we did this year and really enjoyed it. It was actually kind of a surprise for us how successful it was. The one drawback I found in regards to video was the lack of analytics. So it was really, we didn't know how many times people looked at a video on Facebook. And obviously we had no insight into male, female, and where they were coming from. So is there any plans to improve the analytics on the content?
The best way that we felt to solve that was just to allow third-party players on the site. So if you're working with, I gave the example before, Brightcove or Ooyala, for example, then all of your analytics would be coming through that, right? So the Facebook player, I think, is really designed for uploading some kind of user-generated content. And yes, there's pretty basic analytics on the back of that. And instead of kind of, I suppose, waiting, understanding that that's incredibly important and that 100% data should drive how you work with Facebook. But I think the best thing that we did was just to say, that's fine. If you work with a third-party player, as long as it's Flash-based player, you can bring that to Facebook, and then all of your analytics are there behind it. So I'm not sure in this case if it was because you guys were working with the actual Facebook player, but we definitely encourage you to use your own media player so that you can get all that good data and analytics.
So if you have your own media player, you'll get lots of data and analytics.
Sure, and because we don't capture that, of course, right? So that would be captured by by Ooyala or YouTube or whoever it is that's actually hosting that content.
Okay, good. And then there's lots of content, depending on who it is. Okay, I got it. There's one from the Twitter feed. Frictionless sharing. This is from Stuart again. It says, could you ask her about frictionless sharing? Do people want to let all friends know about every show they watch? There's been a little bit of a backlash about frictionless sharing. In other words, do I really want everybody to know what music, all the music I'm listening to, all the TV shows I watch?
I think no is the answer. I think the reason these apps are so successful, the Spotify, the Guardian of the world, Netflix, etc., is because three things. It's clear user education. You're asked straight away to opt into this kind of experience. If it's not for you, opt out. Two, total transparency when you're in the experience. You're using Spotify and some clarity around the fact that what you're listening to is being shared back to your timeline. And three, control. If you have the option at any time to go into your settings and tweak, then I think if you have those kind of three things well laid out, then what that enables you to do is and I hate to use the word optimize, but if we think about all of our viewing audiences, and we talk a lot about active viewers and passive viewers, and there's viewers at all different levels of the spectrum. And our goal, I think, as content creators, is to try to to light up those people that are really, really engaged with our content. Well, this is how you do that. And so for some folks, that's 10% of their audience, some 20%. But if you're able to light up kind of that 10% and then at the same time kind of let the other 90% enjoy the content in the way that they want to, i.e., in a more, not in such a social way, then I think kind of everybody has won in that sense.
So last question, where is Facebook going to be, say, in a year? I mean, obviously there'll be hopefully more people using it, but where do you think you'll be in terms of this indry in a year?
Oh my, if I only knew. Wow, that's a really big question. If I think about 12 months ago, if somebody had asked me where we'd be with Facebook today, I would have had no concept that it's where we are today. But I think you hear Facebook talking a lot about the graph, the social graph, and the open graph. And on day one at Facebook, it was about connecting people to other people, and that started to build out our social graph. And that quickly was added or enhanced with the like button by being able to say, I like something. That created a new connection beyond just people connections, but to things. And you know, at our developer conference last year, we introduced this concept of you know, being able to define a connection which is a lot richer than just a like. I watch something, I pin something, you know, look what Pinterest is doing. You know, I listen to something.
Yeah, Pinterest is going like crazy, isn't it?
Pinterest is going like crazy, and what they're doing is building out an amazing kind of graph of connections between us and their world, you know, and their content. And I think a year from now, what we'll all be able to do in terms of kind of leveraging that graph in order to make more personalized experiences is going to be really cool. So that's where we're headed.
Cool. Well, sounds very good. We'll be watching closely and hopefully doing more deals with Carla Getze. Please join me in thanking her. Carla, thank you. Okay, on to our third interviewee. We have Blair Day next. Blair, why don't you come up and join me? Blair Day is the Vice President of Strategy for MySpace. And I think she didn't use that water, so you can use that if you want. Or you can have a new bottle. Yeah, whatever. We've got lots of water. So Blair is only 3 months into his job at MySpace, so we're gonna help him out here.
It's gonna be easy on me, right?
Okay, yeah, exactly. You've been in the IPTV space for a long time and also in the OTT space for a while, so it's not like you're unfamiliar with what's going on. So let's just start with where MySpace sort of is right now. MySpace was obviously a big social music space, went through some ups and downs. News Corp had it. Then they sold it, I think it was last June, to Specific Media, which is a digital advertising company, essentially.
That's right.
And that's when Justin Timberlake, yes, that Justin Timberlake, came in. So what was that all about?
It's really about, just understanding discovery of music is important. It's important for the business, the whole music industry. And so when you mix social and music together and you add in a layer of discovery, it piques his interest, and Justin's position with us is essentially as chief creative officer, and he has a team that works with us day in and day out to help guide us from within the industry and how users interact with the service.
Okay, so he has an equity stake in the company. News Corp still has a 10% equity stake in the company, and then obviously Specific owns the rest.
Correct.
And the idea is that you're kind of transitioning from kind of an audio or music, I should say music, social music site into a more of a video social site.
That's right.
Would that be safe?
Absolutely. So everyone knows that music is powerful. Video is even more so, and we're in this space in the industry where video and content is starting to be consumed in just new and interesting ways. So it's just a natural progression for us to move into that space, and then mix that layer of social on top of it. So it's not just TV. It's TV with that social layer and that social interaction on top.
Now at CES in January, you launched with Panasonic MySpace TV. What does that mean? It's an app on Panasonic televisions? I mean, how does that work?
Right. So, at launch will be an app on the Panasonic televisions, and it'll grow.
And when will it launch? It will launch this year?
In July.
In July, okay.
Exactly. Yeah, so we'll launch in July. And as we grow, I mean, the Panasonic relationship is an incredible relationship for us, both from a distribution platform, which is huge, but also from a strategic partnership. Panasonic handpicked us because of what we're doing and how we're approaching this industry, and so we'll go from app to being much more strategic integration within those devices and both Blu-ray and the connected televisions.
Okay, so it'll go beyond the Panasonic.
Yes,
you're starting with Panasonic.
Starting with Panasonic, there's all the other large distribution platforms out there. Like all the other TV manufacturers and aggregation devices and such. So, by the end of the year, we'll be on close to 20 million devices in the U.S.
Okay, and that Panasonic's and others.
That's right.
20 million. Okay. So, talk to me a little bit about this the iPad app or the MySpace Companion, which is on the iPad. I saw that on the iPad.
Right.
What's
exactly.
That about?
So, it's not just obviously just the iPad. It's it'll be available for all tablets. Essentially, that is your means to interact with the service and communicate and socialize around your entertainment. We believe that television truly is a passive experience, that lean back experience, and we don't want to take that away. But there is a trend where people are now watching TV with their phones, their pads, and what have you, and it's just a more natural way to communicate. It's also an opportunity for our content partners to push additional information about what the viewer has on their television, and also work through companion advertisements as well.
Mm-hmm. So how do I get this MySpace? Just download this MySpace app on any device.
That's right.
Is the idea.
That's right.
So there's lots of ways to socialize your television. I mean, we just heard from Carla, at Facebook. I mean, how are you going to compete in this space? What's different about what MySpace is going to do?
Right, and really differentiation is for us, it's end-to-end from being a content distributor as well as the ability to then socialize, and that social experience that is that layer over top of their whole entertainment experience and how they share that and interact.
Okay. Now, what's the content play? In other words, you come from a music background, you meaning the company, you come from a music background. Are you going to have music channels? Are you going to have entertainment channels? Are you going to have drama? What's the plan?
Yeah, so music is an obvious place for us to start. So, and our content is, full-length, live linear content. So, we'll launch with ad-supported music channels and additional relevant and complementary content in and around that sort of music space and what we see that our users are entertained by. Mm-hmm. From there we'll grow in depth, we'll grow in breadth and to address a broader audience over time.
Okay, so unlike what Facebook is doing, which is basically saying, okay, all you people who make channels, just come to us and you can put your stuff on our, whatever, you're going to actually create new things. You're going to create channels of content. Right.
So, some of it is going to be, curated, but also some of our own original programming. We have an original programming group that is currently pushing, short-form content on MySpace.com. That'll move to long-form, original programming and curation. And on top of that, we'll look to procure other content that's out there already today as true linear live content and on-demand content.
What kind of budget are you putting into this? Because we've heard what is it? Hulu says $500 million, and I think YouTube is saying $100 million. What are you putting into content?
Yeah, it's every deal is different, and we're not trying to. The best way to answer that is that we're not trying to break any of the traditional models out there today. We're just here to enhance them. We have deep roots in the advertising world with specific media, and there's opportunities just to enhance that whole monetization model through that expertise and the analytics and everything that come with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. We have to keep in mind that specific media is the owner, and they know how to do targeted advertising on the web. So theoretically, they'll figure out how to do this.
Exactly.
Now, I know that there is one show that I think you've done with Fox called Wolfpack.
That's right.
It's sponsored by Kia, the car.
By Kia.
So that seems like a perfect, it's like specific media, the branded content.
Exactly.
Is that a template for the kind of stuff? Talk a little bit about that. Is that the template for what you'll do going forward?
Yeah, it's certainly a model that that our original programming group loves and is very familiar with, and we'll just
so Fox put some money in, Kia put some money in.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. So branded entertainment is I think it's a trend that we'll see more of with MySpace.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And let's talk about monetization, the business model. So, if I have some content and I want to talk to you, what do I do? Or do I pitch you a new idea, or do you acquire content, or is there a way to monetize it on MySpace TV?
Right. So the initial launch will have it'll be an ad-supported layer for content, which and then we'll move from there to subscription and transactional models as well. Okay. So depending on where your content fits in that model, and so there's a home for all layers of content, right? Mm-hmm. So depending on where you fit, we'll find a relationship and monetization.
Okay, so it sounds like you're taking a little bit from everybody's book. So YouTube does advertising, so you're going to do some advertising. Right. Netflix does subscription, you're going to do some subscription. Some microtransactions, I assume, as well, possibly?
Exactly.
Yeah? So a little bit of, basically it's all over the place.
Right.
Do you think that that's wise? In other words, is that going to confuse people, or do you think it's going to be good to have everything?
People are used to, first off, we have this trend of people cutting cords and shaving and all the other things they're doing with their cords.
To pay TV. Yeah.
Right, from pay TV.
Yeah.
And so, you have this group of viewers or television consumers that truly want a free you know, a free medium to consume, you know, their video entertainment with. But people are also very familiar with subscription. You know, it's you know, been around for decades, and you know, so it's a familiar model that is easy for them to grab a hold of.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, does it worry you that you're in a way you're starting late in the sense that, you know, Netflix is already established? They have what, is it 25 million subscribers now in the States?
Yeah. And Netflix is, I mean, Netflix is a subscription on-demand model. Where, you know, we truly believe that as we move, you know, where we're moving into this social television space, that linear television is still an incredibly important play. Because of the whole passive nature of television. We don't want people to have to go out and search and spend their day trying to figure out what they want to watch. Mm-hmm. We want to take that passive linear experience and enhance it by, you know, push recommendation and such. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of I guess there is a space. And like I said, you have, you know, thousands of people every day leaving their cable providers for something else. Mm-hmm. And so we're there to help them find that something else.
So you're going to really launch linear channels, live channels?
Correct.
Okay. How about if I have a linear channel that I want to put on MySpace? Will you take it?
Sure will.
What if I'm MTV?
Great.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't that be a competitor because you're music?
Is it a competitor, or is it just enhance one another's service?
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You know,
so you're open?
We're absolutely open. And you know, it's, if you think of MTV, we have a very, MTV has a clear music focus. Mm-hmm. We cater to the same demographic. So there's, you know, there's obviously a natural opportunity for us to work together and you know, create something very interesting.
Cool. Okay, any questions for Blair from the audience? We can bring the lights up so I can see. It's dark out there, and I'll look at this while don't see any there. Is there any questions about MySpace TV? Yes, sorry, I'm being here. Is there somebody over there?
Hello. Hello, Blair.
Yes. Hi.
My name's Greg Roselli. So your initial model is a revenue share on advertising.
Correct.
Okay. What sort of revenue share is that, based on a CPM?
That's right.
Again, what would the average CPM be?
Well, I mean, if you look at, I think it's going to be in line with traditional broadcast television. So if you look in around the, you know, the $15 CPM, it can be higher or lower depending on how we're working together, what the audience is, and the attractiveness of your content. And you put on a layer of targeting on top of that, and there's an opportunity to you know, to just grow that CPM.
Okay, but one last question, sorry. If it's a $15 CPM, is there a revenue share between MySpace and the content provider?
Correct.
Which is generally 50-50 something?
It depends on the, it really depends on the deal.
On the
every deal is different. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So it's not a set 70-30?
Right, it's not like, exactly.
Okay. It's not like Apple.
Right, exactly. It's the way it is. I'm a whole lot more flexible. No, I mean...
Either that or you drive a harder bargain.
Right,
You never know.
Right.
Is there another question for Blair? Yeah? How about microtransactions? You're going to split again, flexible on
That's
the
right.
split?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I truly believe it, you know, any relationship and partnership and the monetization and how we share it has to do with the value of what each party brings to the table.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions for Blair? It's hard seeing, so if one of the ladies with the mic has somebody, let me know. Yeah, sorry, there's one right there.
I'm from TV Global from Brazil.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I understood.
Just take the mic so they can, because they have to translate it for people. But pass that down. Thank you very much, people. There you go.
Yes, I'm from TV Global from Brazil. I'm not sure I understood what you said about MTV. Why would people watch MTV through MySpace TV instead of just tuning in to MTV at home?
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to there's different ways to get you know, to get content today. And if you look at how you know, how this movement and trends of people consuming their content in different ways, MTV is obviously, you know, just an example of someone we'd partner with. But if you're leaving traditional pay television from your, you know, traditional provider, there's an opportunity to you know, find it somewhere else, and that'll be through us.
I mean, basically, it's an OTT play.
Right.
It's, you know,
Correct.
that's why. It's, you know, it's being delivered on the IP.
Right.
Whatever IP it is, broadband, you know, whatever it is. Any other questions for Blair? No? Do you see any?
There's one over there.
Yes, yes.
Hi, Hi, Balihar Khalsa. I just wanted to find out, you said that you're going to be curating content and kind of commissioning it. Do you know kind of what ratio that's going to work on? And also, when will it be available in Europe and the UK?
Okay, sorry. When will
MySpace TV
be available in Europe and the UK? Good.
Yeah.
And what was the first one? Something about
the first
commissioning?
one about the ratio was about kind of, have you figured out what ratio of
right.
content will be commissioned?
Original,
Original
acquired?
versus acquired.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
It'll be incredibly lopsided on the acquired side. You know, our original content and our theory in original content is to build a layer of original content to kind of mix the pot, but glue all of the content we're procuring and curating together. And it's an opportunity to create, you know, that sort of social viral buzz around each channel through, and that's truly what we see the opportunity. We know there's a lot of people out there making content. We're not going to try to recreate that wheel. We just see it as a way to really pull those channels together and create a buzz.
And did you say how much the budget is? You are not saying how much the budget is.
No, I'm not.
Is it going to be in hundreds of millions?
Right.
Tens of millions?
Yeah.
Thousands?
It'd be at least thousands, Kate.
At least thousands. You're not playing, baby. If you're not at least thousands. You're not
exactly.
playing.
It's you know, obviously we have a budget, and you know, we're willing to the model as far as creating content versus acquiring content. We're looking at the more traditional models as to how to monetize and how to.
Who do they pitch?
Share.
Do they pitch you?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Pitch you? Okay.
Yes.
You pitch this guy.
Right
okay.
here.
And when are you going to launch? That's the next question. When in Europe and when in the UK?
Yeah, so we're launching in the US in July, and as we launch and we learn, you know, from that launch, we'll look at other markets outside of the US. We're looking right now for next year, so 2013, to do move into our second launch markets.
Which will probably be UK or anywhere?
I mean, there's obvious choices there as to where we would go, and it's, you know, you look at our user base, you look at opportunities, and you know, in the space, every market is different. So you know, we understand that we want to cater to each individual market and the opportunities there.
Would it also depend on where Panasonic and those guys want to go, or doesn't that matter? You're going to lead it.
We're dealing with Panasonic, you know, at the the worldwide level.
Okay.
So they will launch as where we launch, and they're happy to. I mean, if we were launching worldwide, they would come with us.
Okay, so you're driving that as opposed to what
That's right.
we heard from Christian, where Google is just letting the CE guys drive.
Correct.
To launch. Okay, great. I think that was very interesting. We will look forward to MySpace TV in July and hopefully in Europe sometime next year.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Blair Day. Please join me in thanking you. Thanks, Blair. Bye. Thank you. Okay, last one. Is Jed here? Fantastic. So our last interview is Jed Simmons. He's Director, Head of Original Programming, YouTube, EMEA. So the European bit. Hello, Jed. How are you? Have a seat. There's some water there if you need it. So Jed, tell us, I don't know, do you have any video to show or are we just having a chat? Okay, we're having a chat. All right, good.
Use this microphone?
Yes, you can. Do you not have a mic? Yes, sorry. Could you use that microphone? That'd be great.
Can you hear me?
Yes, that's on.
Is it on?
Yeah, it's on. Why don't we start, let me paint a picture and then you can help fill in. So obviously YouTube started out UGC, cats on skateboards, all that. Still there, right? But we seem to be transitioning now into much more premium content. There's a lot more happening on the sort of, let's say, longer form content. Now, of course, the big news for this industry was, the 100 channels announced in America. Fremantle Media, one of the big indies over here, is launching, I think, Pet Academy, and then there's another one about education, yeah. But there's lots of these niche channels that are launching. So where are we going with YouTube? What's happening in terms of, interfacing with particularly this audience, with the content world?
So just a little background on me that will be relevant to the question of channels. So I came out of the entrepreneurial cable television space in the US. I had an opportunity to be around Ted Turner's building of his third wave of life when we came out with the Cartoon Network, TCM, and a few other great channels that came around. I then had an opportunity to work with Robert Redford and his group of companies, including the Sundance Channel. Okay. So you're going to hear from me, maybe in an ad nauseum boring way, that a life about channels now coming onto YouTube is a really exciting thing. But more relevant, in 2005, with a couple of my colleagues from the MTV networks and from Turner, we started a company 2005 and 2006 called Next New Networks. And for those of you that are young creators in the room or more experienced creators, Next New Networks believed that in a YouTube broadband television internet world, that this new medium would lead an opportunity for the next generation of channels. And so with all of the skill set that we had learned of packaging and programming, short and long form programming, creating programming for underserved audiences, we launched a company that became so good at building audiences and channels on YouTube that a year ago we were acquired.
Okay, right.
Now I say that because for those of you in the audience that may ask questions afterwards or think about this, we were both in love with and frustrated by life at YouTube because it was a platform for videos. Yet we were brand builders and channel builders. And we really wanted so much more from what YouTube could deliver us. So what's really exciting as a part of this channel program that you talked about, the 100 channels in the States, YouTube's overall vision for what we want to be is we want to be the best platform for the next generation of channels. What does that mean? Does that mean it's just the startup channels? If you go back to 1980, is that the next wave of Discoveries and Bravos and ESPNs around the world alongside of all the European and Asian channels that launched? No, it's the best platform for the next generation of channels. Is that Channel 4 and Channel 5 and ProSieben and the BBC?
Probably not.
Yes, absolutely.
So they're the next generation.
Of course they are.
They're the old generation.
Right? No, they're not, because if you go back to, and again, I'll speak from mostly a U.S. perspective, so apologies, although I lived and worked in Europe for 10 years in my Turner days, and I also was in one of the early search engine companies, Excite, before Google came and took it all away from us. The next generation of channels for audiences today includes the extension or repackaging or new versions or the same versions of the big brands in television. We've done a deal as part of this, a partnership with Disney as part of this channels world, right? So we're doing a partnership with IGN, a big brand who's doing a new channel called Start, right, for the video gamers in the world. So I believe, and we believe, at YouTube, that it is really about channels and brands we know today, as well as new brands being built on YouTube.
Are they really channels, though? Because I think there's been some confusion about that. Is it really, because when I think of a channel, and you were in the traditional channel business, we think of a linear channel. You know, you schedule it, you have interstitial, you have ad breaks. I mean, is it a channel?
So you're going to hit a bunch of really fun conversation points for me. We've spent 5 years debating the question of, our company was called Next New Networks. Spent 5 years arguing with each other and partners and investors. We were VC backed. Why are you calling what you do on YouTube networks? Now, in today's YouTube world, they're channels. Okay. So what I would challenge you back with, Kate, is who says a channel is a linear channel? Isn't a channel a brand that has an audience that cares about it, that shares it, that tunes into it when they want, but it can be video on demand, that socially experiences it in all the social media space? Love to see our Facebook friends up here. We have an amazing statistic on Facebook, and I'll probably get this wrong, and Twitter, but I think this is, if I get this right, each day, 500 years of YouTube programming is watched on Facebook. That comes out to 4.8 million hours.
Carly goes, I don't know. It's a lot.
Right? It comes out to 4.8 million hours. But in the world that we were just talking about earlier, we are a part of the entire social media viewing experience. And so a channel doesn't have to be a linear channel that's programmed 24 hours. Now, it's available 24 hours.
I'm not trying to debate with you. I'm just so they understand. It's not necessarily a linear channel. We're talking about on-demand little bits of things, but maybe branded the same. So, for instance, I'm making this up now because I haven't seen it yet, but Fremantle's Pet Academy
I think
it
it's
may be
Pets Collective.
Pets Collective, sorry, I keep calling
Right.
it Academy. Pets
That's
Collective. If that may not be a linear channel such as we might think of it, it'll be,
Right.
you know, maybe little videos that are strung together under this umbrella,
Right.
Pet Academy.
Well, the Collective.
Collective, sorry.
The beauty of what we are building as the best platform for the next generation of channels is all of the different things you can do as a channel owner. Because it's really clear, in all of these channels that we're partnering with, we don't own these channels, right? These are owned and programmed and produced and delivered to us by the partners we work with. And by the way, those that are not even a part of the 100 channels, also anybody can bring a channel onto YouTube. We built over 25 of them over the last 5 years before we became a part of YouTube. So the different things that you can do on your channel are up to you based on what we'll give you. You can do live, right? So My Damn Channel guys just launched a new channel as part of this channel program in the States, but it's globally available, and they've launched it with live programming, right? So you can do live, you can do long form, you can do short form. We talked about curation earlier, right? Curation is, all programmers are curators, right? One of the things we've really emphasized inside of YouTube and where the platform is moving is a whole series of curation tools, right? So it's not just about original programming. It's about library programming. So anybody that's in the room that comes from programming or television or radio or cable or satellite, what we're encouraging on these channels is original programming, library programming, curation, playlists, a whole bunch of things that really are going to define what the next generation of channels will look like.
And socialization?
Social is a huge part of us. It's Facebook driven, it's Twitter, it's Google+, we're doing, there's already the natural social interactions that take place around likes and comments and other things. But you're going to see a lot more happening with us across Google in terms of the opportunities to be a part of, a great social experience.
Let's talk about the money. Obviously, the 100 channels, it was very exciting because it was sort of like, oh, and they're going to actually pitch in some money. We love YouTube. Right. Ah, yes. So talk us a little through that. How much money is there? Is there any money available anymore, or have you basically done commissioning of all those 100 channels?
Yeah. So, fortunately, we're not going to talk about the amount of money that we're committing.
Well, it's 100 million.
But it's a great amount of money, right? And we're excited about that.
So it's not 100 million.
And
those
are the reported numbers.
That's
those
reported
are the reported numbers.
Is that reported number correct?
Those are the reported numbers. So to your question of what we've done is...
So they're not correct, 100 million.
So to your question of what we've done is, and Blair and I share this in common, right? We're not going to answer numbers questions.
Okay. Sorry, but it's significant.
Yeah, it's a significant number. But what's really great about it is we've done 2 or 3 major things at YouTube about the platform for channels.
Yep.
Which is we've redesigned the site away from being a site for videos to a site for channels. So for instance, if you come see YouTube today, we have a channel guide, and it's going to be populated across more and more. So there's been a major redesign of the site. We're moving towards, as people in the room that use YouTube, we're moving away from the metric of views to a metric of time spent watching, right?
Okay.
And then as a part of this, if we're going to be the best platform, we're going to redesign the site. What we really decided was that we should jumpstart new channels coming onto YouTube. So this channel, the series of channels coming out of the US, of which I think we have about 50 of them launched. You can find them off the front of YouTube. We'd love to see hundreds, if not thousands, of channels on YouTube coming from partners all over the world. And whether we've helped jumpstart them through, advances in revenues, which is the way we work, or they bring those channels themselves, because the economics, I think we were just talking about RPMs growing. This is an exciting time. We are so early in what's happening, and we're all collectively seeing not only the audience come, but we're really starting to see the RPMs and the CPMs grow, because sponsors and advertisers and programmers, right, want to be where these audiences are.
Right. Okay, so different ways of like you say, I call it pump priming or kickstarting these channels. And then afterwards, do they get a share of, I assume, they get a share of the revenue from the advertising?
We work off of a revenue model. Be clear, we don't own any of these channels. We don't program them. We don't produce it. I said that earlier. These are your channels, who our partners are, And we are your partner for the platform and all the services, and we're your audience development partner, and we're your monetization partner.
And do those figures that we came up with before, when we were talking to another one of our speakers, you know, $12 CPMs, $15 CPMs, is that what you're looking at?
I think we're going to see a continued growth beyond that. I think you're going to see averages getting close to that, but I think that what we're finding is that in these different targeted, we saw it at Nexus Networks and we see it at YouTube. If you have the relevant audience, and I think an 800 million worldwide audience that you can carve out into a lot of different demographics and interests, and by the way, I think it was asked earlier, why would MTV come on to the MySpace TV experience? Why don't they just keep a linear experience? I think all of us are beyond that question, right? Because the answer is, at YouTube, we're on 350 million devices globally, right? I mean, the amount of viewing, the amount of uploading happening, I'm sure, with Facebook, with everybody else in the room, is just staggering, right? And so these mobile devices give you access. And so back to what the sponsors and advertisers want, and where programmers want to be, and channel builders want to be, this is just an everyday part of what we do.
So you can obviously give them lots of demographics. We were talking about that earlier, because they've got the Google-powered.
So the analytics thing is huge for us. We obviously, in our world, the YouTube player is the driver of our business. The YouTube player travels. It's not just about on YouTube.com. We're in, as I said, in a lot of devices. We love to see the player be embedded. We're working really hard to make that player a better experience wherever it can go with this original programming and other programming that can be out there. And the truth is, and for us, the analytics and everything else that line up is a critical part of that, along with this great programming, is really critical for us. And we have I mean, coming from a television programming life previously, to get inside of Google over the last year and watch this incredible product and engineering team, combined with this growing channel strategy, is just, for me personally, has been an incredible experience to go through, to watch the importance of data and analytics, where inside of television we really didn't have it. If you go back to Nielsen, right, what did we really have? We had data from samples, right? Today we have an incredible set of analytics.
Well, it's interesting, in the UK, Google's launching this 3,000 person panel.
Right.
And where they're looking at TV and other devices. So, clearly you have an interest in
I mean,
developing how people are using all these new devices.
There's no doubt we'd love to get more and more of the huge amount of television advertising that's out there to come on to YouTube with our partners, for our partners. And things like audience, time spent viewing, things like the programming, the brands that are going to be there. These are the kinds of things. And if you go back, I love to tell this little story. My partners from Nexus Networks were the earliest partners with Bob Pittman in starting MTV. Anybody want to guess what their first metric was for ratings? Guess. Anybody want to throw it out? Guess.
You mean metric?
Postcards.
Postcards?
Postcards. They did contests.
People sent in postcards.
They did contests. Give away a house, Bon Jovi's house, give away a Corvette. They had no ratings, right? So it was, how do you measure where people are coming from? They had people sending in postcards. So again, I think there's so much attention on the excitement of it we're all in, and so much demand on all of us to be excellent now, and we're so early.
What's the share? So if you get the CPMs up, is it like 70-30? Is it like Apple, or depending on who they are? You don't talk about it. So it's an individual deal depending on what it is.
We don't talk about it. We're come to our platform, and we have lots of different partners that come on. We try to be very fair in the way we do it. We don't talk about what the shares are.
Okay, but in other words, it's different depending on who you are.
No, I mean, it's pretty universal across the board.
Oh, well, then what is it?
I'm not going to say.
Really? Yeah. Who knows what it is? Okay. Let me ask you one more. Do you have any questions? Yes. Let's do. I'll hold my one back. Is there any questions for Jed? There's one there.
Just a quick question. I'm sorry. What does curation mean exactly?
Yeah.
What does curation mean?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think we're still going to see what the definition of curation is. So, for instance, at Nexus Networks and on the current channels that we see, we now have tools inside of YouTube where basically you can pull. Let's just use pets, right? So this pets collector that Kate's talking about. So if you want to go find other videos that are on YouTube and bring them onto your channel, that's one way of curation. Now, you could just bring them on, or you could do hosts in between them, right? So come back to the early days of just showing old movies and having a host talk about that movies. That's one way of curation, right? Curation the same way from a museum point of view, right? Which is bringing the best into one place. So curation, we have tools that are going to allow you to be better at curating. I think from a television perspective, you may just call it programming, right? They're very similar. But at YouTube, we're bringing tools on that are going to make it easier for you to do it.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, here's one.
Hi, thanks. Maker Studios were talking yesterday about the idea of spending 80% of their time doing the commenting and the responding and the socials around the videos. Is that something that's quite common, that it's not about just slapping video on, there's more to it?
So we call them the 5 tool players. The greatest creators and builders of audience on YouTube, if you think about them from a television perspective, if you were a producer, right, not a channel builder, but if you were a producer, when you delivered your show, your job was over, right, because the channel, the broadcaster took it on. Inside of a YouTube world, you have to be really good at shooting, hosting, editing, producing. Again, not YouTube, but you, the creator. And then comes that special piece that really becomes critical, which is what you're talking about, that Danny and the Maker guys are probably talking about. It's audience building, right? There is so much excitement in the way that you do audience building, from talking to the blogs, for commenting on your programming, admitting that your show that you did yesterday didn't work, and the comments back, and you may do something. So this whole, and inside of YouTube, our group was turned into something called the Next Lab. We do, and if anybody is a partner here has started to see some of the benefits of this. We've published a thing called the YouTube Playbook, right? I think we're now on version 2. We have one for media companies. We have one for young creators. It is how to build audiences on YouTube, and some of the tricks that some might call them, but they're really just best practices, from thumbnails to talking about how you speak and program to your audience.
Okay, great. Is there another one? Sorry, where am I going? Here or here? Who's got the mic? Sorry. Go ahead.
Hi.
You go first, and then we'll
just
go
a question. You were talking about splitting the revenues with the advertising, and at the same time you were talking about investing something around 100 million. So where this money comes to who, and in which form? If it's splitting revenues, you don't need to invest. Right. So if you invest, where do you invest them?
Are they two distinct pots of money?
No. So I mean, the way that we jump-started these channels was we basically used some money to advance as against revenues, and then it just falls into the same structure of how we do revenue splits. So again, because we don't own the channels, we're not investing in the channels. I mean, we're obviously putting money towards the programming, and by the way, we've had a wide range of partners, from big media companies like Fremantle and IGN and Disney to very well-established partners like Maker Studios and others that are building channels, Michelle Phan, all the way to companies that were founded just to get started in this YouTube channel world, and by people who were significant channel executives globally. Started companies just to get started to build YouTube channels, and they were able to participate in it as well.
So I think the answer is there's two different kinds of money. There's a share on advertising, but there's also some money up front.
No, I didn't say that. I said that money was used as an advance against revenues.
Advance against revenues.
Right.
Got it. Okay, so it's advance against revenues. So basically, it's a minimum guarantee. Yes, if we use that language.
It's an advance against revenues.
It's an advance against revenues. Perfect.
Hi, Andy McDonald, C21. I wanted to ask about your 100 Channels initiative in the US. What are your plans to do the same thing in the UK and other countries?
Yeah, so we'd love to, we're looking at that now. We'd love to bring something similar that would get partners, new ones as well as existing ones on YouTube, and bigger channel brands to come to YouTube with their channels, and we're exploring that. We're exploring that now. And we're also paying attention a lot to how the US 100, as I like to call them, are going and getting started. And we're learning. We started launching the first of those in January, so we're only 4 months into this, and we're getting a ton of learning out of that we would then apply to however we would bring more partners onto the platform globally.
So does that mean you will do it, or you're thinking about doing it? You're looking at it, so you haven't actually decided yet.
You're a very precise answer person, I get.
Well, you know, I mean, it's not. I mean, you know, it's great to be. It's different. We're looking at it, or we are going to do it.
Well, there are channels. You can bring a channel onto YouTube today anywhere in the world, right? And you get the model as a partner, as a channel partner, right? Whether we will and how we'll bring this program of jump-starting with advances towards money is something that we're looking at.
Yeah, because I mean, Fremantle's based in the UK, but they're launching a US.
Well, they're a global company.
They're a global company.
They're a global
right,
company.
okay.
Right.
So I guess the question was, will there be, will you target certain markets and say, yes, now we're kind of open more for business in the UK or in France or in Germany?
Well, we're open for business today. I mean, that's that's the distinction that I want to make sure we're clear on. YouTube is a platform for channels, right? Our company built 25 channels and we averaged a half a billion views a month without getting money from YouTube. Maker Studios, Machinima, right? There are companies that are probably in the room. I see Frank from Extreme Videos up here, right. Which is a French-based action sports company.
And do they make a lot of money?
We have lots of partners that are making well over 6
figures.
figures.
Frank, are you making lots of money? Where's Frank?
Enough to keep on with the venture.
Right.
You're very happy and proud. Well done.
But don't forget also, these cable companies lost hundreds of millions of dollars in the first 10 years of their business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and took huge amounts of equity in order to get that. Right. And so I think what we're seeing is an enormous amount of audience growth, and we're seeing incredible growth in revenues that are making people excited to bring their channels to YouTube.
Okay. We are out of time, so I'm going to have to stop. But I thought that was really interesting. Could you please join me in thanking Jed Simmons?
Thank you.